Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message, it reads like this. Hello, my brother, how are you? Can you please post my own story as anonymous? I have my story that I want to share with you, and my story, it goes on like this. So, my brother, last year I did something terrible, and I do not even know what am I supposed to do. And the advice that I have gotten from my new friends, this advice, I think that it is very bad advice, but yet at the same time, I feel as if that is the only advice that can help me to stay in my marriage. Because if my husband is going to find out about some of the stuff that we did whilst we were on vacation, I think that will be the end of my marriage. So my story, it goes on like this. It is very unfortunate that I cannot tell you from where I am writing this confession from, as well as telling you where we went on this vacation, because if I had the freedom and the liberty to do that, then my story was going to make a lot of sense. But I am afraid that if I mention the place that we went to, maybe there are people who are going to listen to the story and they would immediately recognize the person that would have shared this story with you. So my story in details goes on like this. I grew up in a Pentecostal church, and I can say that apart from this sin that I committed, I am still a strong Christian. I am still a strong prayer warrior, even though I feel as if I have fallen down, and I don't know if I will be able to rise up again. During the fasting days, I joined everyone in church as we were busy fasting. But my brother, for the first time in my life, I felt like I was not even doing anything. For the days that was set by the church whereby we were supposed to fast and pray, I didn't even fast for the rest of the days, because I felt like I was just playing around with myself. I didn't even feel like what I was doing was genuine. So I could only fast from morning until maybe around 11 a.m. Then I'll just feel like I don't have to do this anymore because of the sin that I have been holding in my heart, the secret that I can't even confess, because I know that if I try to confess this secret to anyone, then if my husband gets to know about it, then it means that he is going to divorce me, and I cannot have my husband divorcing me because I depend so much on him. What happened to me is that when I grew up in this Pentecostal church, I then later on got married to my husband. Me and him, we met in the same church, even though my husband was attending the same church but at a different branch. So when we were on a youth conference, that was when me and my husband met. At that time, my husband, when I looked at his life, it seemed as if he didn't have any future at all. But as a woman who had grown up believing in God and believing that miracles do happen, and when I looked at him, I knew that God was going to bless him one day. I just had that feeling. Then, Brother Nashi, when I started dating him, there were people from church who assisted us with the wedding preparations and everything. That is how I eventually got married to my current husband. After we had gotten married to each other, we started staying in a high density area because of the lack of funds. My husband was someone who was working very hard and was still taking himself to school, but at the same time he was trying to provide for his little family. So all that we could do was to stay in the high density areas. So whilst we were staying there, my husband came back home one day and he informed me about what had happened at work. He told me that he had been fired. So things were going to be very tough, but if God's time has arrived, then things are going to happen automatically. After my husband had been fired, he then started his own small consulting business, and he was then hired by a very big company that told him that what he was doing was like direct competition with what the company was doing. So they offered him a very good package, which was very good. It included a company car as well as a company house, and this company house, it was situated in a very rich neighborhood where we are still staying even up until today, even though we managed to buy 2 more properties which we are using as our own investment. So my brother, when we moved into this rich neighborhood, my husband then told me that it was high time for me to let go of my former friends that I once knew that were staying in the high density area. My husband told me that if I kept on having those poor friends, that it meant that our class was never going to improve. My husband told me that I had to start befriending women that were of a higher class if we wanted to be wealthy in life. So even though I refused at first, but my husband kept on insisting, it then happened that one time when my husband wanted to invest something and the money that we had, it was not enough for the money that was needed for the investment, then my husband said, you see, if you have poor friends, then you can never get rich in life. If you are climbing up the ladder of wealth, then you need to have friends that are wealthy as well. Because when we sat down, when we started looking around and we saw that none of our friends could even assist us, they were actually asking help from us. That is how I ended up ignoring most of my friends, even though the ones that I used to attend the same church with, I was now ignoring them, and I was now friends with women that were of a upper class. Some of the women that were also from the same church that me and my husband were going to. Even one of the leaders in our church at that branch where we worship, she is also someone who is very wealthy. She became one of my best friends, like a big sister to me. She then told me that for a very long time they had been planning this trip, and they do this each and every year, and they wanted to include me in that trip, even though December was fast approaching. This holiday, we went on this vacation this last December. So they said that they were going to include me and they were going to assist me so that I can pay all the funds that we needed. So I told my husband, and my husband said that, you see, this is what rich friends do to you. They improve you and they do not destroy you. I was really excited, my brother, about this ladies only vacation. On the day when we were supposed to go on our vacation, we went next door because that is where this lady is staying. Then we used one of her very big cars. Our husbands were there just to say goodbye to us, and no one was allowed to follow us to the airport. But when we were sitting, when I was at the back seat, I was sharing that back seat with one of the ladies because we were 6, including me. So the lady that I was sitting right next to, the young one, I saw that she was actually flirting with someone on her phone because she was using her laptop at that time and she was on WhatsApp. So I could properly read that everything that was going on her WhatsApp, this was not about her and her husband saying goodbye to each other, but there was a man that was actually waiting for her, and I just pretended as if I didn't see any of her dirty secrets, and I started just speaking with the other friends of mine that were in that same car. After that, when we arrived at the airport, that was when I saw that there were 6 more men. These men, they got into the same plane as we were, and when we got off from that place, and when we got off from that airport, my brother, I saw that the men were also like they were following us, but I just thought that maybe this was my imagination. At the hotel where we were booked at, when we were waiting to board that cruise ship, those men, they were also staying in that same hotel. It then happened, my brother, that once we were on that same cruise ship, I would just meet them whenever I would be going around. I thought that maybe it was just a weird coincidence. Then on the second day, then one of the women, that one who was the elderly woman from church, she said that tonight was a night for us to let loose and to forget that we were actually married. I thought that it was just a dirty joke, but there was more in stock, more that I didn't even expect from these ladies. We then went to a bar. When we were at that bar, my brother, these women, they showed me their true colors, because I saw that those men that seemed to be following us along, they were actually their boyfriends. Each and every one amongst them had their own boyfriend. So I was just sitting all alone. Then there was another guy whom they had brought along who didn't have a girlfriend. That man approached me and we started talking. The man just offered me a drink and I started drinking, and I forgot where I was exactly. I think that he just inserted one of those date drugs into the drink, into the juice that he had offered me. When I woke up the following morning, I then found out that we were just in a very small cabin, all of us. There was no space at all, and it seemed as if we had a very big orgy in that small cabin that can only fit 3 people at a time. And I saw that the guy that I had walked out of the bar with, he was not the guy that I was sleeping on top of his chest. It was another guy, and this guy and I, we were both naked, as well as the rest of my friends. They were just naked. When we finally woke up, my brother, I was the only one who was feeling ashamed at everything that had happened. The other girls, they were not even ashamed. They were actually laughing at what had happened. It seems as if this is what they do all the times whenever they go on their little vacations, and they are used to this sort of a thing. There is no relationship that is there between them and this man. It is just a once-off thing. All of these men, I learned that they are married. They also go out on their bachelor vacations, and when they go out on their own, what they do is that they connect with my friends, and then they start to do these terrible things that we ended up doing. My brother, for 5 days we were on the seas, and for 4 days, me and these guys, we were just exchanging each other. It didn't matter whom you were going to sleep with on that night. It didn't even matter at all. We were just doing most of the dirty stuff with each other's guys, and we were just sharing. After the days had passed when we were on the sea, we then returned back home. And all along the way, I was the only one that was really feeling dirty. And these friends of mine, they kept on telling me that there was no need for me to feel dirty at all, because this is what most married women do. And as for them, they only do it once a year. And I was supposed to know that this is not a strange thing to do. It is just experimenting with your body and experimenting like about some stuff that you and your husband can't even experiment about. So my brother, with time, then that elderly woman from church, she then gave me some herbs, and she told me that I was supposed to wash myself with these herbs so that my husband can never be suspicious. She laughed and she said that use these herbs so that next time when we go again on our vacation, we do not want to leave you behind. We do not want your husband to say no to you. We want your husband to always allow you whenever we go on these vacations. And in the next trip that we are planning, they were actually saying that we are supposed to go to Thailand. And there, my brother, I don't know what exactly are we going to be doing but with the dirty things that they showed me, I am sure that even they are going to be doing their dirty stuff. I don't know if they will be doing it with this same man or they will be doing it with total strangers. So my brother, this is the current situation that I am facing. I have come here on your platform looking for advice. Should I confess? I have tried to confess my sins to God, but God has been quiet. I don't know if I should find any amongst my relatives that I can share this secret with, or maybe my sister, but I do not know what to do anymore. And I never thought that in my entire life I'll ever use charms against my husband, but this is what this women has gotten me involved with. But these women, they have managed to involve me with these charms and juju, which I do not even enjoy using at all. I regularly bath myself whenever I feel like my husband is getting angry at me about things that are not quite a big issue. So I just feel like I need to control his mind, but I don't know until when I'll be controlling his mind and what kind of damage this is going to cause in his life the more that I control his mind. Yo, dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our admins. We received this message. It was sent to us by our dear sister. Please let us try to give your advice in the comment section.